First story. The saga of OP's delusional wannabe fiancé, who said she is glad that OP's wife died in front of his kids, then blames him for expecting that she will live with strangers, calling his kids. Revealing she was the one forced her son to move out of his house. Now having a breakdown, OP called off the wedding. For some background information, I, 43 years old, have 2 children with my late wife Kayla. Sam, 21M, and Liz, 16F. All fake names. Kayla passed away when our kids were 15 and 10. I won't give specifics about how she passed, but she was struck by a drunk driver when she was on her way home from work. She really was the love of my life, and to say that her passing hit our family hard would be an understatement. I promised myself that if I got back into the dating game, I wouldn't date anyone for at least a couple years for the sake of my kids. 3 years after my wife's passing, I met my now fiancé. We'll call her Amanda. Things went slow, and I didn't introduce her to my kids until we had been dating for about a year at that point. Now we've been together for 3 years and are engaged. Amanda and my kids have always had a good relationship. Neither of my kids are super close to her, but they have always been friendly and welcoming to her. And Amanda has never overstepped any boundaries my kids have, like trying to replace their mother. At the beginning of Amanda and I's relationship, she was a bit insecure about the fact that I was a widower. During the first few months of us dating, she would constantly ask things like, if Kayla had never passed, would I still be with her right now? I always kept my answers brief and told her that I didn't like thinking about the what-ifs, and that she was the one I was dating now, and that was what mattered. Eventually, she stopped making these comments, and I stopped worrying about them. Now to the issue. My parents were hosting a family dinner to celebrate my fiancé's and my engagement. It was my mom and dad, my late wife's sister and her husband, Sam and Liz, and me and Amanda. Dinner was going well. We were all having small talk with each other and talking about wedding plans. About halfway into dinner, my mom made a comment about how she was so happy I was able to find the spark I had with Kayla in someone else. I don't think anybody really paid much attention to the comment. But then Amanda laughed and said, I'm happy she died. Otherwise, I would have never gotten him to myself. The tone of the dinner immediately shifted, and everyone got extremely tense, especially my kids. Amanda noticed the shift and started awkwardly laughing, like she was trying to play her comment off as a joke. I was honestly just frozen, as that was the first time she had made a comment like that. My kids looked disgusted, and Liz got up and walked out to the car. Sam waited a bit longer, like he wanted me to say something, but I was still in shock about what Amanda had said. To make a long story short, the dinner was kind of ruined, so I said my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed my fiancé, and we all drove home. My daughter hasn't spoken to me or Amanda since, and it's been 3 days. I got tired of it and pulled my son aside to ask him what I should do. He said something along the lines of, I'm a grown man and don't care who another grown man marries, but I don't want a woman who speaks like that about our mother around my sister. Sam's comment stuck with me, and now I'm considering calling off the engagement entirely. She's never made comments like this before, but I'm worried if I let it slide this time, it will become more frequent, and it will affect my daughter. I need some advice from outside perspectives and just want to do right by my kids. Would you mind if I called about the engagement because of the comment she made? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect to get this much advice so shortly after posting this. Nonetheless, thank all of you for the advice and even the people calling me a bad father. I think your guys' words are what I needed to pull my head out of my arse. I will try to talk to my kids alone tonight before speaking with my fiancé, and we'll see where it goes from here. I'm pretty sure my fiancé and I are over, though. I'll update late tonight or tomorrow on how the talks with everyone go. Thank all of you again for setting my head straight. Relevant comments. NTA. Saying that she is glad that somebody passed, so that they can be happy is pretty F-ed. Saying it at a family dinner with a person's family and kids there is beyond F-ed. While it is true that they wouldn't be in this position without their passing, it's not something one should be thinking about and definitely not talking about. Another user replies, I mean, she could have said something like, it was an unfortunate event for all of you, but I think she was the one who brought us together to be there for each other. She could have gone any other way, but she decided to allow her insecurities to get in the way because she knew if Kayla didn't pass, OP wouldn't have been with her. She has always competed with a dead woman and will continue to do so. Yeah, she's never going to let this go. You can't. Your son just told you the deal was with her or them. Choose wisely. Another user replies, yeah, she's never going to let this go. You can't. Your son just told you the deal was with her or them. Choose wisely. NTA. What Amanda said was distasteful. In vino veritas. Perhaps that's how she sees this relationship. Fighting with a dead person, she will never win. She is bitter and jealous of what you two had. Your mother also shouldn't have said such a thing. It was also distasteful. I think you will lose your kids if you marry her. Sorry. First update. 1 day after the original post. Update. I promised I would update everyone after I talked to my kids, so here is the update. It's kind of long, so I hope that doesn't go against the rules of this community. I'm also going to use this update as a way to clarify some of the questions people were asking in the comments. Did my fiancé apologize to anyone at the dinner party? No, she didn't. I honestly don't think it even registered with her that what she said was wrong. Does your fiancé have social anxiety? To my knowledge, no. In all the time I've known her, she's never shown any signs of social anxiety and doesn't have a history of it. How old was my late wife? She was 37 when she passed, and we were the same age. Amanda is 41. A lot of people were asking for clarification on the time frame of her passing and when my fiancé and I met. At this point in time, Kayla has been gone for about 6 years, and I met Amanda roughly 3 years after Kayla's passing. I didn't mention either of their ages, as I didn't believe it was important because we're so close in age, but I understand why a lot of you guys would want to know. Now that I've clarified the things I was most asked about in the comments, we can get into the update. While I'm writing this update, it's the day after I talked to my kids. So last night, at around 5:30, my fiancé left for work. She works nights most days of the week, so I was able to call my son and ask if he could come over so I could talk to him and his sister. He goes to our local college and lives in an apartment near his school. When he started college, he wanted to move out, but also wanted to stay close to us. So he settled on an apartment a few blocks away from the college. He came over, and I called him and his sister into the living room to talk with the both of them. When they were both seated, I told them, point blank, that I didn't think the wedding was happening anymore, and that the comment she made was unacceptable. I then, on the advice of the comment, apologized to them. I told them I was sorry for not saying anything for so long and letting the tension thicken in our home. I told my daughter that I understood why she hadn't spoken to me, and that I was sorry for allowing her to think that I was even remotely okay with what she said. I felt pretty spineless after we had gotten back from dinner that night, so I wanted to do everything in my power to make it right with my kids during the conversation. My daughter told me that she felt disgusted at the comment Amanda made, and even more so when I didn't defend her mother. She then told me that the past 2 years that she's known Amanda, she felt like she's been gradually trying to push her and Sam away from me. One of the examples Liz gave was when my son moved out. He moved out when he was about to start his sophomore year of college, and when he mentioned the idea of moving out, Amanda was the one who took that and ran with it. According to Liz, Amanda was the one encouraging Sam the most to move out. To be clear, I was never against Sam moving out, but it was clear to him that he was welcome to live at home for his college years, and even after until he found where he wanted to be. I asked Sam if he felt pushed out by Amanda, and if that's why he moved out. He said he hadn't felt pushed out before he told everyone he wanted to move. But after he put it out there, my fiancé kept pushing for him to move out. Liz cut in and said that every time she brings up college, Amanda keeps encouraging her to go out of state. Liz doesn't plan on going out of state, and she's been open about wanting to go to the college Sam is attending right now. Liz said she feels like Amanda is waiting till she graduates high school and goes to college so she can move out. A lot of the comments were right about the subtle comments eventually turning into Amanda wanting my kids pushed away from me. Liz said that she was scared that by the time I eventually noticed the way Amanda was acting, too big of a wedge would have already been driven between me and them. I told my kids that I'm sorry it's taken me this long to notice, and that I was also sorry they've been walking on eggshells for so long. I hugged my kids and told them that no matter what, they were my top priority, not Amanda or anybody else. A lot of comments pointed out that even though my son is grown, he still needs his father, and I made sure to let my son know that I will always be there for him and his sister, even when they are well grown. The entire conversation lasted about 2 hours. We covered a lot of the bases we wanted to, and it got emotional on all sides. In short, Amanda and I are done. I've made it a point to tell my kids that none of this situation is their fault, and that Amanda is the grown woman who said what she said. My kids and I are okay right now, but they aren't 100% with me and probably won't be for a while. I'm completely fine with that and just want my kids to feel comfortable in their own home. Amanda has tomorrow off from work, so I plan on talking to her tomorrow. I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. I don't want my daughter here when it all goes down. So she's staying tonight and tomorrow night with Sam. So that's where I'm at right now. I am not super happy about the outcome for me and Amanda, but I would rather have my kids happy and healthy than have a wife. Again, thank you to everyone for the advice and the harsh words. I'll update after I call it off with Amanda. Thank you, everyone. Relevant comments. I'm sorry for what you and your family are going through. I applaud you for doing right by your kids and your family. I'm very glad you're learning all this about Amanda now, before you're married. I suspect you're going to find that your mother brought up Kayla in the hopes Amanda will show her true colors. When you're ready, don't give up on meeting someone who loves and respects you, your kids, and honors and appreciates the memory of Kayla. They are out there. I am married to a lovely man who lost his wife after 14 years. He has 2 amazing kids that I love and adore. We celebrate their mom with some special family traditions that I love and enjoy with them. Good luck. It's so uncommon on AITA posts to see someone who really takes feedback and doesn't just make decisions hastily and selfishly. If I were in your place, I would have also been so stunned by Amanda's comment. But you did the right thing once you processed what happened. I can't imagine what it feels like to lose a spouse, but someone will come along who understands that love comes in all forms, and that marrying a widower with kids isn't a lack of love for her. I wish the best for you, your kids, and the rest of your family. Great update on siding with your children. But man, do not call and berate your mother, or ask her what she was thinking. There was nothing wrong with what she did by bringing up your late wife at a dinner your children, the children of said late wife, were at. Another user replies, I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. You're going to ask her why she said something that brought out your STBX fiancé's true colors out into the open? Dude, you should be thankful that your mother's comment was a catalyst for you to finally see what Amanda has been doing to your own kids. You say that you and Amanda are done, but it sounds like you kind of blame your mom for this, when you should be thanking her for pulling the rose-tinted glasses off your eyes. Call off the engagement and relationship if you want, but do not put this on your mom. Amanda is the one who made the tasteless response. Amanda is the one pushing your children out. And Amanda is the one in a one-sided competition with your dead wife. Second update. 2 days after the original post. Okay, everyone, here's the update you guys were waiting for. Again, this is a long post, even longer than the last update, and I suggest reading my previous posts if you haven't for the context in this situation. So where we last left off is where my kids and I talked and made up. And my daughter is staying with her brother, so she doesn't get caught up in what was about to happen with my now ex-fiancé. Before the hard part of the day breaking it off with Amanda, I made a call to my mom to let her know of the situation. A lot of the comments told me not to bash my mom for the comment she made. Now, thinking back on the situation with a clear mind, the comment my mother made towards Amanda was most definitely a compliment towards her. And that was confirmed in the call I had with her. My mother, bless her heart, felt extremely guilty for the entire situation. She fully believed the situation, which all stemmed from her one comment. I assured her that none of the situation was her fault, and that I've never blamed her one bit for any of this. We talked a bit more before I let her go. The call ended at about 9:15, and I was left waiting for Amanda to wake up. She woke up at around 10:30, and I didn't want to ambush her straight after she woke up, so I waited until about 11:10 to sit her down and talk. A lot of people in the comments suggested secretly videoing the whole thing. I thought that was extremely smart, so I had my phone set to record in my back pocket the entire time. I didn't think she'd try to do anything drastic, but I would rather be safe than sorry. The talk with her went about as well as anyone could imagine, so not at all. I told her I needed to talk with her, that it was serious, and we sat in the living room. When we were seated, I began unloading at her about the comment she made about Kayla at my parents' house, how it made my kids feel, how it made me feel, her lack of an apology or any sort of acknowledgement for what she said, and so on. I told her I expected her to give an apology to my parents, my in-laws, and most importantly, my kids. During the entire time I was unloading on her, she didn't seem to show any bit of emotion other than her eyes, which were slightly wider than normal. After I spoke my truth, she straight up asked, "So if I apologize to everyone, we'll go back to normal?" I told her point blank, no. I told her that the comment she made at dinner was not the extent of my problems with her. I then told her that I know she heavily pressured Sam to move out when he wasn't even sure if he wanted to at that point in time, and that I also know she is now trying to do the same with Liz. I did my absolute best to leave my kids out of the situation. But I told Amanda that the way my kids described her treatment towards them was the main reason I don't see a future with her anymore. Amanda was stone-faced up until I told her we were done. I think that's when the panic set in for her. She kept saying that she'd apologize to everyone, that she'd make it right with my kids, etc. I told her that if she apologizes, I will certainly appreciate it. But we were still done either way. She was full of tears at this point and asked me, why wasn't I willing to try and fix our relationship? And I told her that even though I loved her, and I will be honest, I still love her very much, I was not willing to take another chance of my kids being hurt the way they were. I was frustrated and shot back at her, asking her, why was she trying to push my kids out of their own home? And I got back an answer I was not at all expecting. I was completely shocked at her response, but a lot of you guys won't be. A lot of commenters actually hit the nail right on the head with what Amanda was truly like. Amanda responded, well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life. I immediately saw red, and after about a minute, I told her to get out. I told her that my kids can go wherever they damn please, especially in the house that I own and pay for. She tried to retaliate, but in the end, she ended up packing a few bags and going to stay with one of her friends. I emailed a copy of the phone recording to myself. The talk only lasted about 25 minutes, not nearly as long as the talk I had with my kids. So if anything ends up coming out of the conversation, I have all I need to keep my name clear. I've texted my kids that Amanda is out of the house for good, that they are welcome to come home anytime, and let my son know that if he wants to, he is more than welcome to move back in completely. My daughter is coming back from her brother's place in the afternoon, and I still have phone calls to make to my parents and in-laws to apologize for this mess of a situation. Amanda is out of my house, but she keeps blowing up my phone for us to try to work things out. I'll let her come by in the next few days so she can collect the rest of her stuff out of my house. But she is not welcome to live here again. I'll be honest and say that I am a bit devastated. Despite everything Amanda did, I still love her, and I probably won't stop loving her for a minute. But I'll be okay. Right now, I just want to focus on the family that needs me and will use this situation as an excuse to bond more with my kids. Another big thank you to everyone who helped me in the comments. A lot of the advice you guys gave played a part in making things right with my family. I will update if anything else big or important happens. But as of now, I'm taking it one step at a time and making it right with my family. Relevant comments. Amanda responded with, well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life. Yeah, no, this line would have definitely killed any love I may have had for her that wasn't already killed off with that vile statement during dinner. OP, I am so incredibly sorry that the woman you love was not really the woman you thought she was. I know this is extremely painful and devastating. You were planning a life with her, and now that is severed. I'm so sorry. You did well. I know you know that, but sometimes we just need to hear or read it. Be well. I respect you so much. It's hard to let someone go while you still have love for them, even if they are a horrible person. But be so proud of yourself for doing the right thing. You are a good father and a good son. A little advice. Start to pack her stuff yourself. Because sometimes people can pick up stuff that doesn't belong to them just to be spiteful or cause some harm. Also, they might use this time as an opportunity to try to manipulate you, gaslight you to go back to them, or just to make you feel terrible as they are the victim and you are the villain. Believe me, you can end up hating yourself for putting them through this, although it's the right opposite and they made their bed. So no matter what, pack her stuff now to keep the time that she will be there as short as possible for your own good. Change all the locks if you haven't yet. Don't give them any chance to get in the house without you knowing it. You did the right thing by recording the conversation and doing the same thing when she was there to pick up her stuff. She might try to reach your kids and your family. Tell them to inform you immediately if something like that happens. Save those things as proof and make them block her later. I wish you all the luck and strength. I hope everything is going to be better for you and your kids. New update. Life update. 9 months later. Wow, I can't believe it's been almost a year since everything went down, and my posts still have so much traction. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's been engaged in my story, and an even bigger thank you to those who shared their own stories and advice when I was between a rock and a hard place. Everything that happened honestly feels like a lifetime ago, which has reminded me that I'm getting older as I'm now 44. Liz turned 17 a few months ago, and Sam is about to be 22. Life has honestly been pretty peaceful since I broke things off with Amanda. I will give a quick recap of my last update from almost a year ago, when I had the conversation with Amanda. She had stayed at her friend's place for about a week, and I took that time to take the advice of many comments and pack up her stuff, like clothes and other small items for her. She had a couple of bigger things, like chairs and other decor, so I made sure those were the only things she was allowed to come into the house for. I got the locks changed per advice as well. I will say that a lot of you commenters thought of things that didn't even cross my mind, like the locks. And I'm thankful you guys are a bit more cognitive than me. Everything after that was pretty smooth and amicable, which did surprise me. She came by and picked up her things, and gave me back the ring which I didn't want back. But she gave it to me anyway, and we didn't talk much. It was calm. But that didn't last because a few weeks later, she was harassing my socials for another chance. I was pretty exhausted by her at that point, so I just blocked her and had my kids block her as well. A lot of commenters pointed out in my second update that I didn't love her. I loved who I thought she was, and that was spot on, and it had helped the process of me moving on go much more quickly. It's been radio silence from her end since me and my kids blocked her, and since it's been almost a year, I'm pretty confident it will stay that way. This whole situation has made me realize that I'm perfectly fine and okay with being single for the rest of my life. Maybe people will see that as sad, but I find it more of an acceptance thing. Ending things with Amanda made me realize that I didn't feel the same love with her as I felt with Kayla, and probably never will with anyone else. That's not fair to me or the person I could potentially date, and I'm content with the family I have around me. This situation has almost given me a whole new appreciation for my kids. They showed more maturity and understanding than I ever did at their age, and it's made me love them even more, which I didn't think was possible. Sam still has his apartment. I offered for him to move back in, but he declined, as he really enjoys having his own bachelor pad, which I understand as I was his age once too. He has a part-time job. He really enjoys that he's been working since his second semester this year, and I think he met a girl. I'm not sure, but I know my kid, and I'm catching a vibe from him. Liz is amazing as always, and she enjoys the summer before her senior year. She's made the honor roll every year of high school, including this year, and I'm so damn proud. Both of my kids are such hardworking and genuinely good people that it's hard not to toot my own horn when I think about it. Sorry for rambling in this post about them. I love them more than anything and find myself word mapping about them when I speak about them. I'm sure other dads can relate, haha. Another huge thank you to everyone who's been following my story and gifting me all your amazing, and some not so amazing advice. And also know that I've read your own stories in the comments about similar experiences. I'm sorry a lot of you guys didn't have the support system I've shown my kids, and I really appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to share your own personal stories. I wish I could give all of you giant dad hugs. That's about it for now. Of course, I'll update if anything big happens. I don't think it will, as I think the dust is pretty much settled. Hopefully I don't jinx myself by saying that, haha. Again, I appreciate all of you fine Redditors for following how my kids and I are doing, and I hope this is a satisfying update for you guys. I wish you guys all the best. Comments. Mifrinskulmeepic. Gosh, I love a happy ending. I'm glad you and your children are doing okay. Tossburntoast. I'm so happy for you. I caught your story for the first time in a Boru post when I was going through a difficult time last year. Not gonna lie, posts like yours helped me through, because we were all going through hard things at the same time. Like you, I can't believe it's been a year. It's so nice to know that life continues to be good after hardship, and can sometimes be better now than it was before. Second story. Entitled mom who resents OP, favoring his golden child sisters humiliated and bullied him until he moved out. She ditched his wedding, laughed at him and his wife when they lost their firstborn, and now she has contacted OP, knowing he has money, demanding that he pay off the debts that mom and sisters created. Thanks up front, Reddit users, for reading my long-winded background. I've always been kind of the goat with my family, and by that, I don't mean greatest of all time. I mean, my family always kind of looked down on me and held me to unreasonable expectations. I think it's because, other than my dad, I was the only male in the house. I didn't get any special consideration for being the youngest, not that I'd want any, and anyway, that was rendered irrelevant once my youngest sister was born. She was sort of the golden child throughout our childhoods. But my oldest sister also had special pride of place for being the oldest kid. I was the middle kid, and even though I'm male, I got hand-me-downs from my sister, as long as the clothes weren't too feminine. As an adult, I can see how that's practical and money-saving. But as a child, It was embarrassing and also hurtful to see your sisters constantly get new clothes and new bikes, while I had to wear girls' clothes and ride hand-me-down girl bikes. Interestingly, my younger sister never had to wear hand-me-downs from my older sister. My mom and sisters pretty much had an easy life while my dad was alive because they just rode him all day long and henpecked him until he died 15 years ago from a heart attack. He was only 58. Growing up, sometimes my dad tried to do special guy things with me, but my mom shamed him into stopping it. I just don't get why my mom was always so cynical and negative toward me. My hair was always too long or ugly. I was too skinny. Then when I started working out in high school, suddenly I was too muscular. Then I was too tanned. Then too pale. My grades weren't good enough. And then once I got into a good school for college, it wasn't that good. When I earned my degree in business, I was a wannabe businessman fast food employee. When I got into graduate school for an MBA, it was a stupid idea, not like I asked anyone to help me pay for it, etc. Why do you dress like that? You look dumb. Why don't you own a house? Your car is old. No one will respect you. You know how that goes. I worked and earned my own pocket money, starting at age 15 with a job at a fast food restaurant. So that's why they all picked me for working fast food. Eventually, I became assistant manager of the restaurant at age 21, when I was almost done with college. My sisters would often mock me for working in fast food, and my mom would too. It wasn't gentle ribbing or teasing in a loving way. No, it was a spiteful insult, trying to hurt my feelings and make me feel small. Speaking of feeling small, I'm really tall, 6'5", and they also made fun of me for never trying out or being good at basketball or caring about any other sports. When my dad died, he left everything to my mom, which is to be expected, including the house. He left me and each of my siblings $10,000, just as some extra money, on the assumption that my mom would leave the kids everything equally upon her own death many years later. I already knew back then that my mom wouldn't leave me much, if anything, compared to my sisters. My sisters continued to live at home, but once I graduated college, I moved across town to my own apartment. They weren't sad to see me go. I've been living on my own ever since. It's been going on for almost 20 years now. I grew up in a rather large house. This was Kansas, where it was possible for a normal dude like my father to own a big home. So when my sisters got married, their husbands moved in too. Their husbands are both college-educated guys, but I could tell they enjoyed the idea of not having to pay for their own house or any rent. My dad had built a small guest house behind the home, which he always told me would be mine when I grew up. But after he died, I could tell my mom had the place earmarked for her daughter and future son-in-law. My older sister and husband stayed in my former room in the big house. Well, whatever, right? I had my own thing going. These days, I'm the regional manager of a mid-sized restaurant chain, not fast food, but close, haha. And although I'm not rich, I live quite comfortably. I could afford to put a down payment on a house, but I like the easy freedom of having an apartment. At 30, I married my longtime girlfriend, whom my mother and sisters always hated, because she was Jewish and also 8 years older than me. Your girlfriend is too old. She will never have a baby. Well, none of them came to my wedding, even though they were invited. We actually conceived a baby, but my wife miscarried. My mom and sisters found out about it, and rather than express any condolences to a woman who just lost a child, my mom and sisters treated me to an unsolicited, "I told you so," and didn't send my wife so much as a card. I love my wife, and since we don't have kids, we have French bulldogs. We live in a big bungalow apartment with a yard for them, so whatever. My family mocks me for that, too. I'm not a man because I don't have kids. It's not like I accuse my sisters' husbands of not being men because they live in their mother-in-law's house. Everyone does their own thing. My wife's family is somewhat successful in the furniture business, and they're a lot nicer to me than my own family. My mother and father-in-law offered to buy me a new car. I drive a 2000 Honda Accord, which is still in mint shape just this year. But I said no thanks, and they seemed to be impressed that I didn't accept gifts. Well, after all that background, finally my point. It seems my sisters and their husbands have had all sorts of business schemes and tried to open their own yoga studio, because I guess my sisters are into that stuff. Sort of the whole, gee, I like coming to yoga class, so naturally I understand business economics and should open my own yoga studio. Personally, I thought that the kind of boutique, expensive yoga studio they had in mind was more of a Manhattan or Beverly Hills thing and not a small town thing. But whatever it was none of my business, and they never asked for my advice, so I never said anything. Plus, my sisters' husbands both considered themselves business savvy. One of them sells insurance. The other works as a new accounts person at a bank. so it's not like my counsel was ever needed. Of course they failed, and spectacularly so. And my mom foolishly put her house up as collateral for the business. I'll admit that in a petty way, I felt a bit of schadenfreude. But overall, I was upset. Especially because both of my sisters have small children. There are 9 people living in my old house now. Now the bank is threatening to take over their house if they don't come up with a certain sum of money. It's a lot of money, but money that I happen to have, and they know it. They all approached me with appeals by phone message and text. They've always known where I live, but have never once come to visit me to how I should be a good brother and son, and how this is what my father would have wanted, and all that. Neither of my sisters' husbands have said a word to me about it, and I doubt I'll see 1 penny of my money back if I loaned it to them. My mom, in particular, has been laying it on thick about how she's an old woman and will be cast out of her familial home and all that. She's even gone so far as to hint that my rich Jewish wife's family can pony up the dough. I haven't yet returned any of their calls or texts. I'm still thinking about how they all always have a big Christmas party every year and never invite me or my wife. Partly because they don't like me and partly because they don't like the Jew. I know that if I confronted them about it, they'd say, "Your family. You don't need to be invited. Just show up." But I know, damn, well, they don't want me there. My wife says it's up to me whether I want to help or not. But she also says that there is power in mercy. I don't know, though. I think she's bigger than me in that way. I'm looking for some outside perspectives on what to do here. Thanks for any advice, Reddit. TLDR. My family has always been mean to me. Now they need money and want mine. What to do? Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button,